I'm not much for giving advice anymore. I'd rather take it these days, because the older I get, the less I know. But I think it was a great...
Anyone who has watched General Hospital knows Anthony Geary, the guy who made Luke Spencer famous from his supporting role. Geary is a legend of the soap opera, an idol who has sparked controversy and a secret that no one saw coming. He was the most decorated male soap opera performer of all time, earning 8 daytime Emmys throughout his 37-year career. However, Anthony Geary abruptly turned his back on everything while he was at the peak of his career. He abruptly left the limelight, said goodbye to Hollywood, and provided no explanation. Why? In reality, what transpired? When he exited General Hospital's backstage area, what did he leave behind? I don't understand why one of the most famous American TV stars would want to depart while everyone else was praising him. Who was his hidden life partner? That third piece of information will make you wonder and be amazed even more. Let us reveal the hidden facts of Anthony Geary, the guy who altered the course of television history while simultaneously leaving behind a most enigmatic farewell in Hollywood history. The modest hamlet of Coveville, Utah, where Anthony Geary was born on May 29, 1947, was noted for its dry dirt roads and vast fields where children played in. His upbringing in a working-class household instilled in him the importance of grit and determination from a young age. Russell Dean Geary Sr. was an entrepreneur in the construction industry who began his journey with a digger and a battered vehicle. His only assets were his dogged persistence and unwavering will. While Anthony was a little boy, his father worked long hours to grow his firm from a one-man operation into a successful enterprise. Geary learned from this experience that once you start anything, you have to finish it. As a housewife, his mother, Dana Geary, was exceedingly emotionally fragile. She instilled in her kid an unabashed willingness to talk about how she really felt. A keen eye for detail was evident in Geary's early work, a talent that would eventually make him a great actor. He carefully observed the facial expressions and body language of people around him. Even as a child, Geary was enthralled with movies and would spend hours upon hours analyzing them. He painstakingly documented each film he watched in his own notebook, including the title, director, actors, and his critical thoughts. His interest in complicated, multifaceted villains, which would influence his profession later on, set him apart from other youngsters in a way that most don't. Geary always felt he belonged on stage, even though none in his family was involved in show business. As a child, he would spend hours locked up in his room acting out movie sequences, complete with voice impersonations and character traits. Geary earned his diploma in 1965 from North Summit High School. Even though he wasn't the most brilliant student, his exceptional creative skill was obvious to everybody. Throughout his time at school, he was a mainstay in the school plays. An incredible chance for a youngster from a small town like Coveville. Geary got a theater scholarship to the University of Utah, all because of his inherent skill. Before he became famous for his roles in Hollywood blockbusters and high-profile TV dramas, Anthony Geary was a stage actor who trained for roles that required him to give his whole attention and make no mistakes. There was a window of opportunity for him in the late 1960s while he was a student at Utah State University. Veteran actor and Oscar winner Jack Albertson was a guest star at the school that year in the play The Subject Was Roses. After seeing Geary play the son in the play, Albertson couldn't help but be impressed. "Would you be interested in joining me on tour?" Albertson asked after the last performance. This was the gateway to the world that a young man from a little village like Coveville had always imagined. Leaving college without a second thought, Geary joined Albertson on the tour. He arrived in Los Angeles on this voyage, where he had his first taste of the entertainment world and knew then that he couldn't turn back. In the 1970s, only the hardest-working individuals could make it in Los Angeles's cutthroat entertainment industry. Geary, instead of letting the stress get to him, dove headfirst into his job. Performing in anything from little theaters to massive arenas, he devoted years to the stage, His improvisational skills, emotional regulation, and ability to hold the audience's attention at all times were honed during this time. It laid the groundwork for his eventual success on television by allowing him to hone an acting technique that was both natural and subtle, but fascinating. Geary started putting his acting chops to the test on television after years of unrelenting commitment to the stage. Room 222, The Streets of San Francisco, and The $6 Million Man were just a few of the hit TV shows of his day in which he appeared. Even though he had little screen time, he never let his characters become caricatures by failing to give them nuance. His breakthrough came when he landed a hard role on the comedy All in the Family, but this talent marked him apart right away. All in the Family's protagonist, Archie Bunker, accused Roger, a part that Geary played in 1971, of being gay. American television at the time was still quite reticent to discuss LGBTQ+ issues, particularly in comedies that aimed to entertain rather than offend. On the other hand, Geary decided to give Roger his due instead of making him a caricature or a punchline. His act was authentic and approachable since he refrained from becoming caricatured or over the top. The end result was a breakthrough program that changed the way Hollywood dealt with LGBTQ+ characters and brought them to television for the first time. Despite the briefness of his appearance, Geary proved in All in the Family that he was not hesitant to tackle difficult and contentious roles. Soap operas were his entry point into a whole new universe, and this was the first step. Geary began her CBS daytime drama career in 1971 with the cast of Bright Promise. At first, it was only another acting gig. Nevertheless, he met Gloria Monty, the woman who would ultimately alter the trajectory of his whole career, at that same gig. She had a brilliant vision and was a major player in the history of soap operas. Even before they started working together, she noticed something special in Geary, something that Geary might not have known himself. He was urged by Monty to fully embrace his uniqueness. While most producers were looking for Hollywood-type performers with traditional good looks, Monty encouraged Geary to embrace his eccentric, non-conformist acting approach. After carrying that image around for a while, Monty took a risk a few years later when she took over as executive producer of General Hospital. She produced a character creation exclusively for Geary. Even Anthony Geary didn't anticipate that his 1978 part on General Hospital would be the turning point in his career when he took it. Surprisingly, something went wrong with Geary's original 13-week contract, which was a typical short-term job for soap operas. After appearing on the show, Luke Spencer became famous and helped launch a new era for daytime television. There has never been a character like Luke Spencer. During an age when most male protagonists in soap operas were depicted as perfect, perfectionists, and morally pure, Luke appeared as a complex anti-hero. Neither was he the typical dashing prince who made everyone fall head over heels for him. At moments, he was defiant, violent, pitiful, and profoundly defective. Yet there was something about him that was oddly appealing. Luke was always conceived as an outsider, a man with a troubled background who would resort to any means necessary to stay alive. He was never meant to be a typical protagonist. Actually, many people felt strongly about how he was introduced to the show. At first, Luke was shown as the guy who had sexually assaulted Laura Weber, a beloved female character on the program. Strangely, though, audiences couldn't help but notice Luke, even if he had been universally loathed. I don't understand how the villain Luke Spencer became the most viewed man in America. Tony Geary was the one who had the solution. The way Luke was portrayed by the actor was quite remarkable. He managed to evoke a range of emotions that no one else could have managed. Geary went above the call of duty to show Luke as more than simply an opponent. He transformed him into a broken man whose ghosts linger in the present. Because they witnessed to somebody battling their own issues, they could not help but have some sympathy for him. The laws of soap operas were altered by the mix of daring storyline and Geary's outstanding acting. The days of flawless protagonists were over with Luke Spencer, who introduced a new era of multifaceted characters, where a man could play the role of both hero and villain simultaneously. Luke Spencer's role in the most famous love story in American television history, Luke and Laura, was what really made him a cultural icon, though. Their romance was captivating and contentious, and it rocked Hollywood to its foundations. If General Hospital was transformed by Luke Spencer, then the show's meteoric rise to fame may be attributed to their romance. Despite their on-screen chemistry, Luke and Laura went on to become the most iconic television couple in the United States. In November 1981, when they were married, the event reached its pinnacle when 30 million people watched, making it the most-watched daytime television show in American history. On that particular day, it looked like the whole United States was captivated by Luke and Laura. Companies were shuttered, stores saw a precipitous decline in revenue, and eateries and cafes had a commonality. Patrons were engrossed in their televisions. Though it had none of the hallmarks of a royal wedding or a big political event, it yet managed to hold the nation's attention like no other news item that day. Luke and Laura had gone from being soap opera characters to iconic figures in American popular culture. Although millions of viewers watched a lovely moment, their relationship had a tumultuous beginning that made television history. The fact that Luke and Laura's love story began with a crime in one of the most contentious moments in American television history, rather than a fairy tale, made it even more stunning. While Laura was at a dance, Luke sexually attacked her. Contemporary viewers find the scene nearly incomprehensible, but the plot did a U-turn that nobody saw coming. The program recast Luke as a complicated character haunted by his own transgressions, rather than a fully realized antagonist. Luke wasn't only an offender, he was compelled to face the consequences of his deeds, find salvation, and recover the affection of the lady he had wronged. Audiences were captivated by the intricate and captivating dynamic that resulted from this. What made General Hospital unique was that instead of following a tried-and-true format, it boldly experimented with daytime television. But there was a high-stakes production going on behind the scenes of this famous wedding. The show's forceful creator, Gloria Monty, would not stand for sloppiness or blunders. She insisted that every detail be perfect and wanted an intense filming schedule. The wardrobe staff was so worried that Laura's wedding dress would wrinkle if she sat down at any point throughout the day, according to Geary Francis, who performed the role. There was an air of anticipation in the air because everyone on set knew that this wasn't your average episode. This was a watershed event in television history. In spite of everything, there were unforgettable moments. Filming the Virginia actual dance sequence brought back fond memories of square dancing occasions from Anthony Geary's childhood, which he thoroughly loved. Also, the scene where Luke and Laura drive away in a classic Model T after their wedding is one of the most memorable parts of the show. For a wedding that millions of people had been waiting for, this image helped set the mood by adding a touch of breathtaking romance. A grandiose ceremony was arranged in New York to mark the event, as Luke and Laura's impact was so vast outside the set. The two main characters, Anthony Geary and Geary Francis, were not invited, which is a sad turn of events. After Francis learned this, she confessed that she felt hurt. Despite the fact that the wedding of Luke and Laura was a watershed moment in television history, the individuals responsible for making it a reality were not invited to the celebration that was held in their honor. No amount of explanation, whether it was an intentional choice or a simple oversight, helped Francis get over his displeasure. Princess Diana's devotion to Luke and Laura was nevertheless conclusive evidence of their enormous popularity. Even though everyone was staring at Diana and Prince Charles's 1981 wedding, few people knew that the Princess of Wales was also watching General Hospital. Apparently, she had VHS cassettes illegally imported from the United States, so she could watch every episode of Luke and Laura. Diana went so far as to send a bottle of champagne to commemorate the on-screen nuptials. Geary got to drink the present, which was a comedic twist, but Francis couldn't as she wasn't old enough to legally drink. Luke and Laura may have had a rocky start, but none can dispute that they made an indelible mark on American television. Theirs was a groundbreaking love tale that changed the face of daytime drama, not your average soap opera. Even though Anthony Geary had achieved the highest level of success, the issue of whether he was content with it or seeking an exit to pursue something even better lingered. No one could have foreseen the revolution that Anthony Geary would bring about in daytime television when he arrived on the set of General Hospital with a meager 13-week contract. Geary didn't only perform a part, he revolutionized it with a character as unorthodox as Luke Spencer. The devotion was rewarded with a record-breaking achievement at the Daytime Emmy Awards, in addition to the adoration of millions of fans. From his first Emmy in 1981, during the height of Luke and Laura's stardom, to his historic victory in 2012, spanning 4 decades, his 8 awards for Outstanding Lead Actor are a monument to a brilliance that never faded. Geary stood out because he wouldn't allow Luke Spencer to be pigeonholed. Unlike other soap opera performers, Geary had no qualms about making Luke more complicated, anguished, and at times, completely unpredictable. He created a multifaceted character, one who viewers could adore or hate, someone who was resilient and vulnerable. In a genre where one-dimensional characters are typically criticized, this level of complexity was unusual. Critics were as enthralled by Geary's genius as viewers were by Luke's incessant development. According to one observer, Geary's individuality, uniqueness, and staggering range make him one of the greatest actors in daytime television history. The results were unanimously positive. Not only did Geary surpass himself in 2012 in terms of daytime Emmy wins, but he also surpassed all male actors. Still, Geary never let himself get too comfortable while he was winning, even when he was at the pinnacle of his career and holding golden medals. He aspired to be more than simply a soap opera icon. He wanted to be seen as an authentic actor, one who fearlessly took on difficult roles. And it was precisely because of that mentality that he made the unimaginable choice to quit his job, quit Hollywood, and start again. Anthony Geary was an indelible part of American television history after 37 years, and he was more than simply the heart of General Hospital. In doing so, he established himself as one of the all-time great actors and revolutionized the soap opera genre. But Geary made a revelation that sent shockwaves through Hollywood. He was formally retiring, right when his career was reaching its pinnacle, and Luke Spencer was still a key presence on the program. It wasn't an impulsive choice. Geary had given it a lot of thought. He was extremely dedicated to his work, but he had always hoped that no role, no matter how famous, would limit him to a lifetime of acting. I never intended to stay this long, but Luke kept evolving and I kept going along with him. But at some point you have to ask yourself, what else is out there waiting for me? Geary said in an interview. In 2015, he discovered the answer. He had outgrown his desire to be in Hollywood. None of it, the movies, the accolades, the flashing lights, had the same charm. Geary wished she could escape Luke Spencer's clutches and live a life of tranquility. Fans of General Hospital couldn't believe it when word got out. General Hospital without Anthony Geary or Luke Spencer was nearly unfathomable. Regardless of the public's demand or producers' tempting incentives, Geary stayed steadfast. He had given Luke Spencer his all, and he was going not because of dissatisfaction or disputes behind the scenes, but because of that. We needed to start a fresh chapter. Geary wasn't the kind to wallow in self-pity on his last day on set at General Hospital, so he kept his emotions in check. However, it didn't make the choice any easier. During his final moment, the whole crew and cast gathered in quiet admiration. It was clear that a time had come to a close. No more explanation was required. Anthony Geary, like Luke Spencer, never shied away from forging his own unique path. He jumped ship from Hollywood for an unorthodox life in Amsterdam where he could be himself. Even after he left the role of Luke Spencer, Anthony Geary managed to keep his on-screen mystery intact for the better part of 3 decades. While Geary brought a magnetic presence to the role of Luke Spencer, a multifaceted and highly dramatic character, in real life, he was reclusive, uncomfortable with the spotlight, and steadfastly mute on his private life. Even though many Hollywood stars were in the spotlight for their high-profile relationships, Geary opted for total secrecy. Nothing about his romantic life was ever leaked, including rumors of a partner or scandals. Everyone started to wonder if Anthony Geary had ever loved someone or if he had spent his whole life by himself because of this. The shocking revelation didn't come out until long after he had left Hollywood, but it startled everyone. Tony Geary had discreetly tied the knot. Nobody was aware of it, no news outlets had covered it, and no paparazzi had taken any pictures. After meeting Claudio Owama 30 years ago, Geary formally married his husband in 2020. An unplanned Instagram post by GMA read, "This week marks our anniversary. Tony and I met 30 years ago in February and got married 6 years ago, also in February." However, the photo that Owama included with the message was the real shocker for the audience. Viewers witnessed Anthony Geary and his partner sharing a private moment for the very first time. The pair has been living there happily ever after in the Netherlands since 2017, away from the cameras and the spotlight. Filming long hours, reading intricate scripts, and feeling pressured to keep up appearances are all things of the past. Now Geary lives a life that is modest yet satisfying. He and Owama take life more slowly and peacefully by hosting get-togethers for friends, baking and cooking together. "Our wedding anniversary is in full celebration mode," was a simple comment that told fans all they needed to know after decades in the limelight, and Owama revealed glimpses of their daily lives with authenticity. Anthony Geary had finally discovered the peace and serenity he had sought, a love that did not need approval from others, and a life partner who had been there for him for 30 years. Not only did Anthony Geary revolutionize the soap opera genre, he did more than merely play a role. Both perfect leading men and one-dimensional villains dominated daytime television prior to Luke Spencer. However, Geary's portrayal of Luke broke all stereotypes, making him the first real anti-hero and opening the door for more nuanced characters in contemporary TV. If modern viewers have characters like Tony Soprano, The Sopranos, or Walter White, Breaking Bad, then Luke Spencer served as the model for that change. Geary did more than just raise the bar for soap opera acting. He transformed the genre from superficial melodrama into profound psychological narrative by reimagining character archetypes. "No one has ever done for a soap opera character what Anthony Geary did for Luke Spencer," critics commented, and the stats really did speak for themselves. 40 years of commitment, 8 Emmy wins, and a part that transformed television forever. Anthony Geary's name will always be associated with American television, even if he has retired from acting. An impressive chapter in his life's work has been formally concluded. After retiring, he has no plans to return to any project and has received no comeback proposals or invitations to attend entertainment events. Geary, escaping the mayhem of Hollywood, prefers to live a low-key existence in Amsterdam. He has severed ties with the press and refuses to give interviews anymore. For the time being, Claudio Owama's social media posts are the only way the public gets a sight of Geary. Luke Spencer is merely a man enjoying his golden years as he sees fit. He is no longer a soap opera icon. A profession and notoriety are relics of Geary's past. He ditches all attempts at public persona maintenance, thereby closing the door on a private existence unencumbered by the demands of the entertainment business. With that, Anthony Geary's extraordinary adventure comes to a close, a character who transformed television, 40 years of unwavering commitment, 8 Emmy Awards, and over 10,000 episodes. Soap opera fans will always remember Anthony Geary as more than simply an actor. Unfortunately, his time has officially ended, as do all great stories. Although Anthony Geary has retired from television, his legacy will live on in the annals of American television. Although Luke Spencer has departed General Hospital, Geary's influence on the business is everlasting and incomparable. In your opinion, how good is Anthony Geary? Be sure to subscribe and like the channel to stay up to date on the latest startling and unexpected events involving Hollywood luminaries, and don't forget to leave a comment below. Reconvey to you in the subsequent video.